13 years is a long time to trust the wrong person. Consequently, when I discovered that my boyfriend paid for a hooker the very first night he had the house to himself in over a decade, I didn't just lose a partner. I lost my history. We aren't talking about a brief lapse in judgment here. We're talking about 4,745 days of shared meals, morning coffees, and bedtime stories for our children that have suddenly been retroactively poisoned. Yet, the most disturbing part of betrayal isn't the explosion. It's the silence that follows. It's the way the air in our living room feels heavy, like we're both breathing through water. I just found out a week ago. 7 days. 168 hours of staring at a man I thought I knew and seeing a pixelated version of a stranger instead. As a result, our house has become a crime scene. He's trying. He really is. He's talking to me. He's showing me the call logs, the bank statements, the deleted messages, every agonizing detail I've been masochistic enough to ask for. I can see the shame radiating off him. It's in the way he won't hold eye contact for more than 3 seconds. It's in the way his hands shake when he hands me his phone. You know that look. The look of someone who accidentally burned their own house down while playing with matches and is now trying to blow out the flames with their own breath. However, transparency doesn't equal healing. Seeing the how doesn't explain the why. Accordingly, I find myself stuck in a clinical stage of grief. I'm not screaming. I'm not throwing plates. I'm just mourning. I'm mourning the man I thought he was on our 5th anniversary. I'm mourning the man I saw holding our firstborn in the hospital. But the man sitting across from me today isn't that person. That person was a fiction. This man is a stranger who waited for the exact moment the door clicked shut, and the kids were gone to invite a transaction into our sanctuary. Consequently, every corner of this house feels haunted. I look at the sofa where we watched movies, and I wonder if he was thinking about it then. I look at the kitchen table where we planned our future, and I realize he was building a secret exit the whole time. As a result, I have to confront the first night alone factor. This is the part that keeps me up at 3 a.m. If it had been a long-term affair, maybe I could blame falling out of love. But because it happened the very second the guardrails of my presence were removed, it feels more like a structural failure. It's like discovering the pillars of your house were made of cardboard, and they only stayed upright because you were leaning against them. Yet, as much as my heart is physically aching, and it really does, it's a dull, heavy throb in my chest, there is a bigger shadow looming over us. Our children. Therefore, I am paralyzed. On one hand, the societal script tells me to stay. It tells me that a 2-parent home is the gold standard. It tells me that 13 years is too much equity to just walk away from. I look at my kids playing in the backyard, oblivious to the fact that their world is currently balanced on the edge of a razor blade. I think to myself, maybe I can swallow this. Maybe I can bury this grief in the backyard and pretend it's a garden. On the contrary, what am I actually teaching them if I stay? If I reconcile for the sake of the family, am I teaching my daughter that her worth is secondary to a man's lack of impulse control? Am I teaching my son that as long as you say sorry and show your phone, you can dismantle someone's soul and keep your life intact? Accordingly, staying for the children starts to feel less like a sacrifice and more like a lie I'm forcing them to live in. However, the logistics of leaving are a mountain I'm not sure I can climb yet. 13 years means shared bank accounts. It means a mortgage. It means deciding who gets the dog and which weekend the kids spend in a different zip code. As a result, I'm trapped in the in-between. He's doing everything right now. He's in therapy. He's attentive. He's the ideal partner this week. But the problem with doing everything right after you've done everything wrong is that it feels like a performance. It feels like he's trying to buy back my trust with the same currency he used to destroy it. Effort without integrity. Consequently, I'm left with the mental images. This is the part people don't tell you about betrayal. You don't just find out a fact, you inherit a movie theater in your head that never closes. Every time he touches my hand, the film starts playing. Every time he says, "I love you," the subtitles tell me he's lying. Therefore, I'm asking the question that has no good answer. What do? Do I stay and become a martyr for a family unit that is already hollowed out? Or do I burn it all down to save the person I used to be? I used to think the worst thing that could happen to a family was a divorce. But now I'm starting to think the worst thing that can happen is 2 people living in a house where the love has been replaced by a ghost. On the contrary, he is still the father of my children. He still knows how I take my tea. He still knows how to make the kids laugh when they've had a bad day. Yet, those small comforts feel like bribes now. As a result, I realized the last dab of my story today. I realized that the stable home I've been fighting to protect for the last week might not actually exist anymore. You can't protect something that's already gone. Accordingly, my choice isn't between staying or leaving. It's between living in a memory or walking into an unknown. I look at him, seeing the shame in his eyes, and for a split second I feel pity. But then I look at my children, and I feel a responsibility that outweighs pity. I'm still in the house. I'm still grieving. But for the first time in 13 years, I'm looking at the door not as a way to keep people out, but as a way to let myself out. I don't have the answer yet. I just have the silence. And for now, the silence is the only thing that isn't lying to me. 13 years of loyalty shouldn't have a shelf life of 8 hours. Consequently, we have to talk about the most terrifying part of this story, the first night alone factor. It's a concept I call structural integrity. You think a building is strong because it stood for decades. But you only find out it's actually rotten when the wind finally blows from a specific direction. For this couple, the wind was just a few hours of solitude. Yet, most people in the comments are going to say, just leave. They'll say it's black and white. However, when you've spent 4,745 days building a life, your finances, your memories, and your children's sense of reality are all tangled up in that person. You aren't just leaving a cheater. You're amputating a part of your own identity. As a result, the grief the narrator feels isn't just about the act itself. It's about the retroactive lie. Think about it. If he could do this the first time he was alone, it suggests that the faithful version of him only existed because he was being watched. Therefore, the last 13 years weren't built on his character. They were built on his lack of opportunity. That is a heavy realization to swallow. It turns every anniversary and every "I love you" into a question mark. Accordingly, we have to look at the stay for the kids trap. We often think children need a united front, but children are world-class lie detectors. They don't just see what you do, they feel the tension in the room. They breathe the air of the house. Consequently, if you stay and live as ghosts in a house of resentment, you aren't protecting their childhood. On the contrary, you might be giving them a blueprint for a broken marriage. You're teaching them that love is something you endure, not something that respects you. However, I don't believe in instant answers. Healing or leaving is a process, not a light switch. The narrator says she sees the shame in his eyes. Yet, shame is often just the pain of getting caught, not the pain of causing harm. There's a massive difference. As a result, my advice for anyone in this bento box of a situation is to stop looking at his eyes and start looking at his feet. Where is he going? What is he actually doing to rebuild the foundation he didn't just crack but shattered? Therefore, the last dab here isn't about whether he's sorry. It's about whether she can live with the new version of him. Because the old version? That guy is gone. He never really existed. And walking into a future with a stranger is a lot harder than staying in a memory with a ghost.